Alright, making a video. A lot of leaves here though. Anyway, I was watching a Modern Mystic video, and he was talking about idioms, which I guess are sort of like cliches, or sort of like something like that anyway. And just the subject of communication and, idea, creation or communication, and how people, some people are better at it than others. Yeah, some people are better explaining things than other people. I find a lot of physicists aren't very good at explaining anything. Yeah, from my experience. But that's just me, right? They assume things, and you're just like, how could you assume I know what the hell you're talking about? But they do. And then I guess in conversations you have with people about different kinds of subjects, it really depends on what they're bringing in terms of knowledge of the subject or knowledge of the vernacular, their understanding of words, and even their understanding of, the ready-made idiom kind of concepts of value. You could say the word democracy, and you'd almost say, okay, somebody should already know, statements like, well, it's not perfect, but it's better than any other of the options, or some kind of, one of those idiom kind of cliche kind of notions of, that is so. It's the only option. All the rest of the options are impractical by some reason, and then your real conversation is just about whether you want to have a more direct democracy or representative democracy, and then you get into a conversation about, how crooked the politicians are, the representatives, and how, ignorant the populace is, in terms of it'll just keep voting for, no taxes and all the benefits in the universe. I mean, it won't be practical. And so you have all these, so you have a word, and it has tied to it all of this stuff. Even words like freedom or something, it's, what does it mean to somebody as a word? I react kind of hostile nowadays to some words that, 20 or 30 years ago I might have thought meant something, because now I know they're not really, valid concepts, because I have some idioms, some bricks of understanding, through experience, or, through knowledge acquisition of some kind, that make it known that that's not going to work. So anyway, in any conversation, I sort of made this argument, is that what we're really seeking is to say something completely and in as simple a form as possible, so that they're, so it's like it's like you're telling the whole story, and obviously you don't want to tell it in any more detail than is necessary. So if I'm going to tell the, boy who cried wolf story, maybe I shouldn't waste a whole lot of time talking about what color shirt he was wearing, or, whether his shorts were as long as knickers or more like tennis shorts or something. I mean, why would I, how much are you going to waste on what kind of detail, and what's the reward for any added detail? I mean, is it really going to help in terms of conveying understanding? And that's the, who knows kind of question that you're answering, is how much is needed, and how much is needed to keep people's interest. Maybe you have to talk about, what color underwear the chicks got on, to keep the story interesting. Yeah, so this is the dilemma of communication, and yeah, I don't know whether it's part of the dilemma of I suppose even in how we think, because we get so caught up in ideas, notions, and then we have to resolve that notion, or we have some rejection of something. You can spend 20 years saying, no, that can't be possible. And then you eventually have to concede, oh, it is possible. And damn, now I've wasted 20 years because I wouldn't accept some, thing that is true that I refuse to accept as true, or some kind of thing like that. And we're all vulnerable all the time to being able to figure out when some premises, what are the right premises, what are the right bits or bricks of communicated intimacy that are the solid bricks. So I guess I would argue that from my perspective, we know we have a lot of these solid bricks in terms of once you accept evolution as the origins of our existence, and then you understand the context of consciousness as part of that evolution, and the concept of attraction and repulsion, and the concept of feeling good, feeling bad as being the mechanism of attraction and repulsion, habituation. That this creates the framework, quite enough of a framework of pieces to build a pretty solid statement about this adventure that we're on. So I mean, that's the big picture, the story of stories, the greatest story ever told, or the most meaningful, is that ultimate story. But obviously we have a lot of sub-stories we're all living. We're all squirming through the context of our lives in the story. And so there's still a lot of other stories that need to be told and need to be explained and need to be communicated. Other parts of trying to get through it. So I'm not saying none of that conversation is worth having, but I'm just still gonna argue though, that the big story is the story. That's the one. If you can get that one told right and resolved, you don't have to worry about cleaning up all the other messes. And that's again what it's really about, is problem resolution. Any story worth telling is a story about solving the problem of your attraction repulsion dilemma, and trying to maximize the condition, the living condition. So anyway, enough. Take a little run and such. Be back maybe. Wobbly today, but it's always something off every day. It's just hard to win. Yeah, I'm back. I have decided I am no longer going to react to people. Yeah, I've just decided that now. Yeah, there's no point in reacting. So yes, I'm going to stop doing that. And just deal with the subjects. And some of the nature of these subjects are just so irritating. To argue that there is some importance to this conversation. There's so many people who are. I just saw the beginning of an Anticontavad video, and you can just see what's coming. The argument that's coming. That you either care too much about death, or you care too much about life being something, and if you shouldn't somehow care. And I just can't make any logical sense out of that approach, especially from my perspective, where I feel, and I do feel profoundly differently, meaning I feel profoundly good, and I can feel profoundly bad. The extremes between feeling good and feeling not good are extreme. Yeah, they're really far apart. Like, very far apart, like way over there to way over here. In terms of the weight difference. So it seems clear to me that what's at stake is not some minor fluff. It isn't just a bucket of feathers or something, and you're just saying, well, just throw the feathers out the window, just whatever, they'll biodegrade or something. This is real stuff that we're dealing with, and the way people just chill dude kind of attitude, I just can't make any sense of that at all. These experiences are weighty. They amount to something. I mean, even though some of them are very short. I mean, I've been waking up with cramps in my legs, and it's just an amazing amount of pain. It doesn't last too long, but it is. It's distractingly, amazingly huge amount of pain in terms of you really have to do something about it. It just screams immediacy. And as much as you just try, okay, I'll just deal with this problem. Apparently my calf muscle is in some sort of distress, and I will just, do step A, step B, step C. But man, it just is saying, you better move fast. Do it now. Fix it. It is really, you really wouldn't want to have to endure that for very long before that would get really quite obnoxious. And then you have the slower, just kind of grind you kind of miseries. The dull, nauseous kind of, that you might feel for 3 days or something. And just those kind of hard, not hard in terms of their intensity, but hard in terms of you got to just endure them for so long, and you become so. Well, anyway, I don't even want to. Like I say, it's not even pleasant to have the conversation about how unpleasant the unpleasantness can get, and it should be one of these idioms. I should be able to just pick up the idiom brick of suffering and put it there over there and just say, see, we all acknowledge that, right? I don't really have to go into great detail, do I? I mean, I don't have to detail horror and suffering, do I? Really? Can't we just concede that there's a big giant pile of it, and what we're really talking about or trying to explore is whether there's anything good enough about the good to justify the waste of that stuff? I mean, we know that once we're here, we're going to be players, in the sense that you're automatically kind of averse to the idea of your heart stopping, and you dying. It just seems like that can't be good. Yeah, seems like the kind of thing you want to at least put off, if possible. But you have knowledge of the fact that, if you put it off, you're opening the door to something worse than dying. And that's not good. So, these are, for people to minimize this as stuff that we shouldn't be distracted by. It's just, I can't make any sense out of that. It has no no place on the the linear trail of my absorption of reality. Nowhere along my trail of absorbing reality was I ever indifferent. Indifference? No, not possible. Just no. It just doesn't make any sense. The simple logic of recognizing how I got here, that I wasn't, some sort of magic formula, mixed in a magic lab somewhere, that no, I got here the traditional way. Silly people doing silly things, a stupid human trick. And there was no brilliant conception of my conception. My conception was not a brilliant act, a brilliant plan. It wasn't step A in a brilliant plan. It wasn't. And if I don't do anything to prevent the process, I'm just going to end up back here again, making these videos all over again, eating the stress of, a rather tiresome existence, that has been difficult, and unpleasant, and nasty, and hard, and no way do I want to do that again. And I certainly don't want to do it, as something even, like I said, I was really lucky. I was born in America, land of opportunity, and God damn it, it certainly does have opportunities I wouldn't have in one of these other shitholes you can arrive here in. And I was endowed through my creation, with certain undeniable advantages and attributes. And I know that round two ain't gonna be better. It's gonna be worse. No likelihood. I'm not gonna draw a better hand than I drew this time. That's certainly not going to be the likelihood. And I couldn't play this hand. I couldn't play these cards. How the hell am I going to play a lesser set, in the future, in a harder future? Yeah, that ain't going to happen. So I should be a bit panicked at the prospect, because it's as real as this reality. As real as my life is, that life will be. The life you don't prevent, is going to be real. It's not going to be a theoretical. It's not going to be, storybook. No, some real individual is going to have some real hard shit happen to it. And that should bother me. It should frighten me. To the point of distraction. I should be distracted by foreboding over, the fact that it's going to just keep going on and on and on. the war won't end with my death. And that is just a horridly dismal thought. Oh. Yeah. That is just such a pain in the wrong place to accept. That there is no escaping their stupidity. Oh. Ow. 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 So anyway, that's probably enough of a video. I don't know if I really said anything. Except for the important thing, I am going to stop reacting emotionally in the sense that I will only make arguments on subject. I will not engage in counter-wittery or counter insulting metaphor or whatever. I just won't bother. I will just plainly state that is a false misrepresentation. False misrepresentation. These will be my new idioms. I will make a new supply of idioms that I will, throw the bricks. I will throw these bricks at those who transgress my integrity, my dignity, with their slanders and lies. I will just throw the idiom of, I believe, you have a misimpression. Yes, I believe you have falsely characterized the circumstance. Yeah, that's what I will do. So anyway, I'm taking the noisier path, so I will cut you a break and continue later, or call this a video. Let's see how it turns out. These days are just so... Oh man, I'm just struggling to get through each day. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not profoundly unhealthy, I'm just not right. Anyway, till next time. I have 12 minutes on the camera and a great text video. Yay. So we'll start the beginning of it anyway. See how far we get. Try out my new policy.
So I did my back in today,
Yes.
And, if that's the first time you experience that pain, and I remember the first time I experienced that pain, it was like the most horrifying thing I'd ever experienced, to that point.
Yeah, back pain is bad. Yeah, really. Ew. I had a day where I couldn't even crawl. I couldn't even manage crawling. I just said, I'm gonna die. I mean, obviously it did get better enough, but it was bad.
And when it happened today, it was like I felt this shuddering, awful spasm of pain going up my back, and I was like,
well, I'll be back. I'm back. Bullshit. So anyway, I guess this is going to be a great text video where we start off with, okay, I have a bad back, but everything is okay because life is wonderful, blah, blah, blah. So I don't, sorry, I just don't get it. I mean, if there was another planet where all they did was just play Chinese checkers all day, and you hated Chinese checkers, I mean, can't you understand that, just because you think you're accomplishing something and that makes it all worthwhile to you, doesn't give you any right to assume for other people that they find it at all entertaining or at all valuable enough. And they find it obnoxiously unpleasant. And you just sit there and minimize it and say, well, because I enjoy the context of my back pain is perfectly adequate to me, so I'm satisfied. I don't care. Chemotherapy, smemotherapy, brain tumor, smain tumor, whatever comes, I'll accept and I'll be grateful to have it. Well, that's you. That's not me, and it's just obnoxious for you to say, I will force you to play a game you don't want to play because I want to play it. I mean, that's all it comes down to. You're just saying, I will impose on you, whether you like it or not. Ha ha ha. And then you get offended because I say, well, I'll fight back. And I'll impose on you, whether you like it or not. That's the way you're going to be. If you're going to be a rapiest, I will fight back.
I didn't scream or anything. The first thing I thought was, I'd better get myself out of this position. My vertebra sprained needs to be rested and relaxed. But, you know, I suppose some people would say, so you're saying you should accept pain or just be rational about it and forget about it, and people...
Well, it doesn't sound like even the same kind of back pain, so I don't even know what the hell you're talking about, right? I mean, what, you know, you just don't relax. A real disc back pain doesn't just relax away. You know, you're stuck with it for a week, and you're immobile for a week.
We should learn to cope with pain. Pain is weakness leaving the body, and so on. And all those kind of bullshit things, you know, people do, you know, straw man me. But more of what I'm saying is not how other people should react and how other people should feel about these things. I'm saying how I feel about them. You know, I'm a person who's gone through pain and currently going through pretty serious pain. And I don't want to die. Now, there's times when I've been through really serious pain.
Well, it's not the subject of whether you want to die or not. I mean, how can you put the words antinatalism and ephilism in the title of the video and you just don't want to stay on the subject? I mean, don't you see how that's kind of inappropriate? The subject isn't whether you want to live or die. The subject is whether you have a right to force somebody else to live. Gee, fella, get with the program.
Wanted to die. But even if I sum up all the yes or no, to be or not to be's over the entire length of my life, including all the serious pain, well, just only all the serious pain, you know.
Yeah, we haven't died yet, so, you know, it's all kind of bullshit until you do that biggie, right? Until you do the big one, you know.
Inclusive of all the pain moments, through most of those pain moments, I've wanted to live. You know, does that make me irrational? You know, am I wrong? You know, this is my...
No, it's not the subject, really. I mean, how horny you are because you're in a horny game, it's really not the subject. The subject is there a reason to take a risk and potentially putting somebody in a great deal of discomfort for what accomplishment? And there's no accomplishment but to serve some personal interest of yours, and that's just obnoxiously arrogant.
Inclusion. How can I be wrong? How can my opinion be wrong? You know, it's based upon facts. There's pain there. You know, it's based upon the fact that I have values. My values exist, and it's based upon, you know, how I view life, and it's a fact that I view life that way. So my opinion is all based on facts.
Again, but it's not on the subject. So why don't you do a new rant about how much you like living? Because that really isn't the subject of antinatalism. I want to understand why you have a right to create living things. Why you have a right to do biological experiments.
But you know, how can that be wrong? It's just ridiculous to think that you can make an argument as to why life shouldn't want to exist. And if it doesn't agree...
Again, that's not the... I just don't know how much you could miss the subject, but that really isn't the subject. I do think you're an imbecile and an idiot for wanting to... thinking your life is accomplishing something, thinking you're winning on balance. I think you're an idiot. But that doesn't have anything to do with the subject.
Be with the argument, then it must be irrational. It's that's just childish argumentation. It does nothing to talk about where values come from.
Oh, yes, it does. I mean, we certainly can critique whether or not we want to be an imbecile in the imbecile asylum eating our own poo. I mean, we can certainly make a judgment of whether, well, that really doesn't make any sense at all.
It just reduces everything to some simplistic DNA game. Like that's
Well, newsflash. Jeez.
what's really important. That's what's of import. You know, it's just people reducing the universe down to whatever simplistic thing that they can use to try.
Whatever, the facts. Yeah, we've reduced it down to the facts. And the fact is, you have a silly psychology. And yes, you have a right to pull on your own winky, but you don't have a right to make winkies and pull on them. You know, that kind of thing. Play with yourself. Don't play with others, kind of thing.
And bully forward a point, and ignore everything else as unimportant. You know, like a cancer victim shouldn't want to live. You know, it's like
Again, you know, antinatalism, effilism, this is not the subject. Okay? I mean, whether some crazy old person says they want to live, I mean, you know, are you going to critique them when they say they want to be dead? Is that also a lie then? I mean, where are you going with this nonsense? I mean, quite obviously, their circumstances bleak. And whether they catch on and get it right and figure out, oh yeah, it's probably best if I just get out of here. The point is most of them aren't rational anyway. They're just imbeciles. And you're going to respect their opinion either way? No, we should be making the decision. Because they're imbeciles.
like, and if they do, what are they irrational? Are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell somebody suffering from cancer they're irrational for wanting to live? You know, are you going to tell them?
Well, I think they're irrational if they're grinding up fucking fetuses or something to live. Yeah, that's right. If they're using somebody else to perpetuate their existence, if they're grinding up millions of dollars in resources to perpetuate their stupid, meager existence, then yeah, I'm going to call them an asshole. Quite appropriately.
No. You're going to tell them they're wrong, and because they're going through pain, that's bad, and if they stop living, there won't be any pain.
This is not the subject. It's been said many thousands of times, maybe, that if you want to torture yourself, go ahead and knock yourself out, crazy fuck. That's not the subject of antinatalism. You want to be an imbecile and torture yourself? Go ahead, torture yourself. Stick fucking steel, whatever, spikes into your head forever. I don't care. Yeah, I'll give you license to torment yourself, idiot. That's not the subject of antinatalism.
Anymore. That's good, so that's what they must believe. You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know, people talking
Yeah, it's a ridiculous straw man that doesn't have anything to do with the subject. Again, the subject is procreation. The subject is, do you have a right to impose life on something else? Do you have a right to conduct the risk experiment? And it is a risk experiment. Undeniably.
about, oh, we have so much empathy. We have so much empathy, but, you know, you have disdain for the opinions of a cancer sufferer that you...
That's a lie. So, I mean, you're just a liar. I have no disdain for a cancer sufferer. I mean, again, my only disdain is if they're going to waste, you know, whatever, $500,000, and I'm going to ask the question, what exactly about you is worth 3 houses? Yeah, I'm going to ask the question.
care so much about. You know, why should you want to live? Your life will be horrible. You've lost all your hair. You've lost all your weight. You know, you're just going to die in a couple of years anyway. Why do you still want to live? You're addicted. You know, but we have so much empathy for them.
Oh, whatever. I mean, again, this is just not the subject of antinatalism. And, again, I don't... Who are you responding to? Whose advocating interference in any other way but to say, I personally, like I said, don't think that people should have unlimited health care to waste and squander. I don't want to pay for it. Maybe you do, but I don't want to. So if you want to pay for some idiotic person's unrealistic dreams that they're going to cure themselves or something, well, then you go ahead and pay for it, but don't steal the money out of my pocket, shithead.
You're so much. And so on. Another thing is imposition thing, which is just
There we go.
entirely ridiculous.
Right. So the subject, which is, yes, your decision that you have a right to play creator, and you won't accept responsibility for the fundamental aspect of what that decision entails, which is imposing, and you're just going to deny an obvious truth, that's exactly what you're doing, and you're just going to pretend it doesn't exist, and call yourself what, a person of some sort of rational integrity? Well, I'm sorry. You can't get more imposing than deciding for something that you're going to create it. I mean, God.
It's like you can't impose on nothingness. You can't impose on a cell. Well, I guess you could. The cell's in a position, and then you impose it.
Oh yeah, what if cars got conscious after 5 years? Are you going to say if we build the cars that we're not making the living car, we're not making a consciousness? I mean, this denial of reality is so desperate. And so I wait 5 minutes into a video completely not on the subject, and then you start to do something this idiotic and claim that procreating isn't an act of aggression. It's not an aggressive act, that you're not in fact deciding the welfare of something. I mean, you really can't throw the pool ball any harder into destiny than to procreate. I mean, get real.
To another position. I mean, you're imposing on it, but it doesn't have a nervous system or the apparatus to be able to feel like sentient beings do, But that cell multiplies a few times,
All right, so it's the cell's fault. Oh, it's my fault. I allowed my zygote to keep reproducing cells, so therefore I decided to live because my zygote cells reproduced, and you were no longer responsible if you created that zygote. I mean, just wow. I mean, wow to the evasion. You can't get, like I said, you just can't get any more preposterous than this.
And becomes a fetus, and then the cells within it multiply until the entire organism has enough organization to have those sensations. Then you can start imposing on it. Or no, I'm not saying you should, but it's possible to impose upon it. You can impose on subjects.
Just amazing. All right, so I can breed rats and I can torture them all I want, and I'm not responsible because their zygotes chose to be born. Fuck.
You can't impose on carbon. Okay, you can't impose on carbon. It's like, I'm imposing life on this carbon.
That's just idiotic, right? So yeah, if I make a nuclear power plant, I didn't build it, right? Because it's made out of natural products. That was the nature made it. And if it leaks radiation and it kills everybody slowly and horribly, it's not my fault because I just used natural materials that just happened to be available, and I just put one stick next to the other stick, and you know exactly what you're doing when you're procreating. You're creating human beings. You don't pretend you're creating a fertilized egg. Get real.
It doesn't work. You can't impose life on inanimate matter. You can't impose on it.
Yes, you can. Quite obviously, you can. Okay, the matter will not be animate unless you animate it. That's just a fact. It's a truth. And pretending it's not the truth is just pitiful. I mean, I really shouldn't have to argue with something this pitiful. This is a pitiful argument. I didn't create my child. Fuck.
Right? Impositions are what occur during life. Life itself is not the...
Says you. No, I pour dioxin into the ocean. I put it in 100-year-old barrels, right? Barrels that'll last 100 years. You're saying I didn't impose the pollution 100 years from now? Of course I did.
Imposition. Yeah. But the people who bring the being into existence, they're the imposers. No, I think the people who rape and torture the people who are alive are imposing rape and torture on them.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't give them the victim. You sat there and handed them the fucking thing. You put the baby on the tracks. You see the train coming. You put the baby on the tracks and you walk away. So don't tell me that you have some give a damn. You care about its welfare. It's written all over the facts that what's going to happen. You know the odds. So you're just pretending now. Even more pretense.
Is it the parents' fault? It's not the rapist's fault. It's the parents' fault.
Yeah, that's right. It always is the parents' fault. That's right. They're responsible. That's the whole point. Is that you have no capacity.